Okay.
This time with feeling, Tim.
Mean it this time. So for the recording, you've just missed the best bit. Might be the only bit. This doesn't make sense. But nor is it nonsense. Most who hear this think it's nonsense because it doesn't make sense. It's not rational or logical. And I've heard it said that it's beyond rational or logical thinking. I don't think it's that. It's more like rational and logical are irrelevant. Life's laughing. At our sweet but futile attempts to make sense of life. And there is great peace in no longer having the need, needing to make sense, needing to understand, needing to know. It might just be obvious that all knowledge is illusory. All knowledge is relative. All knowledge is about things in relation to other things. And we're not speaking about the ability to speak relatively, to think relatively, to discuss relatively. It can just be obvious that that's what it is. And relative thinking and rational thinking are useless in this pursuit, which unfortunately all of us here present undertook to find out the truth, to find reality, to know what's real, not what's relatively real, what's absolutely real, to know the absolute, to understand the absolute. Who the hell did we think we were that we could know? I wanted to know the secret. Just believing that there must be a secret. And I listened to plenty of people who told me there was a secret and that they knew it. But there's no peace in that. It's like, just a false comfort. Fairy stories. Don't get me wrong. I've heard people say that what we're speaking of is a fairy story too, which in a way, they're right. All communication is storytelling. But it's the fairy story that tells the story that it's all stories, which is very different from the fairy story that this story is the true story, the one that will lead you where you want to go. This story says there is nowhere to go and there is no one to travel to where you fantasize you might go to. This is unmoving, including all the movement. The moving and the stillness are simply not two. So you're looking for the crock of gold at the end of the rainbow. And in doing so, you miss the rainbow. And the rainbow is the only reality. And that appears, is absolutely real, and disappears, and never was. And that is the most, that's the beauty. Why is a rainbow so beautiful? Because it's so transient. Because it's so fleeting, and yet so vibrantly alive in its reality. There it is. And then it's gone, and it never was. That's why we love rainbows. And that is just how everything is. It's just more obvious with a rainbow. But all experience is like that. Okay, that's a short introduction for the recording, but a reasonably long one with the first bit. So if you have any questions or you'd like to share anything, then by all means, write it in the chat or put your hand up.
Alice, go ahead.
In the unrecorded bit of the talk, or whatever you'd say, sharing, I really love what you were saying about the holiday and about the holiday not happening, because even before I was a seeker, as a child, I was always really fascinated about big events, and then, or whatever, yeah, big events.
Yeah.
And then getting home, and then it just being so unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable to me that it had happened.
Yeah.
And it just made me very aware that this level of not knowing is available to even the non-seeker all the time, or even the beyond the seeker, non-seeker all the time.
Oh yeah.
It's just not recognized. It's just so apparent that it's just there all the time and not recognized. Yeah.
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 Most children are more likely to recognize what we're speaking of than most adults, for sure. You know, where was the party? You know, when you're back home, where's the party? I mean, it's very obvious.
That's all.
Thanks, Alice. And so there can be such a peace in the not wanting to hold on to that, you know, that wanting to recapture it, wanting to keep it, you know, that precious memory. And recreate it if it was seen or felt to be special. There's no recreation. There's no creation in the first place. If you think how much effort and time most human beings spend in trying to recreate a mood, recreate a feeling, recreate an energy, recreate an experience. There is immense peace in the impossibility of that. And so there's no trying. If it's seen as, well, it never was, then there can be no effort to try and get back to it. I want to get back to that place. I mean, how many, most of my young adult life was like that, for sure. Yeah, I'd have an amazing time. And then because I had such a longing to go back there, then this was shit. You know, now why can't it be like that all the time? We're speaking of the death of all the time. There is no all the time. Not at all. There's just this, which we know nothing about. Nothing. And then the most mundane, simple, ordinary experiences are just what they are. I'm not saying they're all wow. But there is great wonder in a very ordinary, mundane experience. That's equally as miraculous. Life is miraculous. But there are no miracles. Because miracles is fantasizing about some miraculous occurrence. This is always equally miraculous, that this appears for no reason, without any knowing, without any purpose, not going anywhere, not achieving anything. The not achieving anything is regardless of whatever seems to be achieved or not. So there's no one succeeding at life or failing at life. And that feels like love. No winners, no losers. Apparent winning and losing. And of course, in non-duality, if you've been hanging around these Zoom meetings, you could well have made speaking about this winning, the end, the goal. That's all. I'd like to do that. Well, that is the most hollow prize imaginable. It's not a victory. It feels like a loss, but essentially it's not a loss either. But it feels like in the losing, it feels like a loss. The losing of all that I call mine. But it's not a success. It doesn't feel like a success in any way. You've heard me say a lot that this is not what you want. It's certainly not what I wanted. I always wanted to be a winner. God, my conditioning is ultra competitive. It was just all sports competition. And so, that conditioning is very powerful. So I really wanted to be a winner. And wasn't a great loser, I have to say. Could throw a tantrum or two. And I'm not saying even now, if I thought I was going to win at golf and then I lost on the last hole, I might throw a paddy even now. But there is a difference. The difference is subtle. The behavior might be exactly the same, but really it doesn't matter. Whereas to me, it did fucking matter. But the behavior, that is the odd thing about this. We're not speaking about any changes of behavior at all. We're not talking about any changes to the seeming conditioning that you as a human being in your story have undergone. We're not talking about preferences, likes, dislikes, habits. It's very simply that if they're not mine, even though they still appear to be mine, if there isn't that felt sense of ownership, then they really don't matter. because ultimately nothing matters. Whether things matter or not doesn't matter. Whether things are okay or not doesn't matter. It's okay to throw a tantrum when you lose. Or your opponent to throw a tantrum when you beat them. But I guess that's what sets this message apart from most other, I don't know, certainly spiritual messages, which are about being a better person, generally, aren't they? Being better. This has nothing to say about being better at all. It just might be obvious that what you've called yourself is just as it is, this human being, just like that human being. And the great paradox is, without yourself, you're probably more of yourself. Without the constant self-criticism, self-loathing, guilt, shame. It's not that you're free of it. It's just that without you making your behavior so fucking important, as though you are the center of the universe, because of course, as me, that's what I am. Everything is in relation to me. Without that, then there is a neutrality to everything that happens. But that doesn't mean to say that you behave like a saint. You behave like you behave. You're just not the behavior. You're not doing the behavior. It's all natural. That is how it is. Already. But the self doesn't want to give that, although it's fucking painful, it's horrendous, it can be horrendously painful to take all that responsibility for everything you do, because you could have done otherwise. That is already the case. And I always was drawn to the speakers who spoke about you're perfect already. You're already perfect. Oh, well, fucking hell. That's different from what I can see about myself. I think I'm pretty shit. I've got a list. I've got a list as long as your arm of my failings and my weaknesses and my, things I want to iron out in my character. And freedom from that longing to be better, to be good enough, to be worthy. There is no end to that. So somebody said to me the other day, so you're talking about acceptance. And I'm not talking about acceptance. There's nothing to be accepted or rejected. That's what I'm speaking of. which is a fucking lot different to acceptance. Acceptance is damn hard work. I don't know how hard you try. I tried bloody hard to be self-accepting. I'm sure you have. Well, that is dreadfully hard work.
Jocelyn has a hand up.
Hi, Jocelyn.
Hi, Tim. I had quite an interesting challenge during the week. I've got a few friends who I can talk about this stuff with, and one of them's kind of had the shift that doesn't happen, and it just threw me back into that longing, like, so much of, it was devastating, actually. It was kind of awful. I was happy for her, but God, it made me so desperate.
Were you happy for her? I'm not.
Tiny bit, but mostly not.
Tiny bit, yeah. Mostly empty.
Bit. Oh, it was just threw me against myself so badly. The longing, just like, and I sort of lost her as well. I sort of lost the friendships kind of changed forever.
Yeah, it can feel like that, can't it?
But mostly just the longing. The longing was just huge. It's still here.
Yeah.
That sense of like, wow.
Yeah. You could say that's what I am. I am is the longing. But it isn't that there isn't any longing anymore.
Yeah.
No. There can be intense longing. And you might say it's even more intense. The sadness is greater because there's no possibility of fulfillment.
Yeah.
I can never know another. I can't deny that. That's undeniable. And of course I always, not just in romantic relationships, but in intimate friendships as well, just really long to know the other and pretended that I could. The pretense is that I could know another. Now, that hasn't changed, other than it's now an impossibility, but the sadness remains.
The sadness that you can't know anyone.
Yeah. And I can't know myself. If I can't know myself, then I certainly can't know another.
Yeah.
And I mean, that'll be part of this message that, self will struggle to hear, because you want to hear a message where it's all going to be all fulfilled, no more longing. No, like this being human is longing.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And that's love. That's where we can talk about love. The impossibility of knowing another. I mean, there's nothing more terribly beautiful than that. And that's what we've got. It's not ours, but here it is. And I will say about your friendship, that is changed forever. I don't doubt that it's changed, but that doesn't mean to say that the friendship is gone.
No.
No.
No, but it was, oh, I mean, but it was weird because she kind of went slightly into teacher role and I went into punter role, and it was like,
Well,
oh.
just tell her to shut the fuck up next time.
I know. I think I might have to.
If I go into teacher role with any of my friends, they're under strict instructions to, you know, slap me. I don't think I do it that much, but now and again.
It's that bloody confidence, isn't it? It's because that's what I was kind of saying. Like she suddenly had that confidence,
right?
That seems to just happen where
yeah,
it's not a confidence about knowing things. It's just a confidence, like the obvious word that you sort of use a lot. Everything's obvious.
Yeah,
and that was, in a way, that was what. Well, the irony is it was obvious to me. Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything though, Jocelyn, you know. Means bugger all.
The confidence.
Well, no, you know, that that you can suddenly appear to be confident of speaking about this. So what?
Yeah.
I mean, it really is so what?
Yeah, and I've known that in glimpses. I kind of know that. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will say, it doesn't feel like confidence here, although I might come across as confident. It's more the lack of confidence. So it's not that I feel confident. It's that self-consciousness about getting it wrong, or I might say the wrong thing, which is lack of confidence, doesn't appear. That's more like it.
And yeah, I don't know if this resonates with you. She said for her, it's like that any doubt has disappeared. There's no doubt left. Does that resonate?
Well, it's funny because you could say that you doubt everything. I mean, this is really paradoxical, but it's like you no longer have any certainty. But this is doubtless. This is doubtless. But that you don't, it's not that I know this.
Yeah.
But this is doubtless. Yeah. So that appears, if this is doubtless, then that obviously comes across as, it can appear like a lack of doubt. But it's like I doubt everything.
Yeah.
All the things, everything I'm told, everything I've learned, everything I've ever done, all my experiences, I doubt them all.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's a bit like you said earlier. There's something you said earlier about any knowing is always just about things. That suddenly clicked something in me. Yeah, that was. Yeah. Because I was thinking how, you know, we do know things. You know, we know. I don't know. We know the sun's going to rise tomorrow or whatever, but we don't. We don't. I know we don't, but we also do. Yeah.
No, I mean, that is literally what human beings, that is knowledge. So I've seen a pattern, I've been told a pattern, I've learned a pattern that seems to repeat itself. And so that says I know.
Yeah.
And the other thing about this pattern recognition, or seeing something seems to precede something else happening, so that's cause and effect. So I know why it happens and I know how it happens through that, but we don't. I know the sun isn't going to rise tomorrow. When the sun rises, the sun will be rising. Yeah, I mean that sounds like being picky, but that is how it is, isn't it?
Well, yeah. for you?
Well, well, I think that's how it is without the certainty that I know these things, and that's what self wants, the security of knowing. It makes me feel safe. But of course, it's always a double edge with knowing and understanding. You get the illusion of security. But with that comes the terrible fear of there's so much I don't know. There's so much that is uncertain. So, you know, self is built on this illusion of I know. And the very core of that is I know who I am. And really the main suggestion of this is that you don't know who you are. You haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
And no one has. They will tell you different though. Because who am I if I don't know who I am?
Yeah.
And that is terrifying for me. But there's nothing to fear. You already don't know who you are. Or what you are, actually. Not even, you know, that I'm me. You don't know what you are. I mean, I talk about being human, but I don't know that. There isn't any knowledge of being human. There isn't any awareness of being human. I don't have that. Thanks, Jocelyn. Well, if your friend gets too, you know, too teachery, then I think, because there aren't any teachers of this, it's all bullshit, you know, there's no one teaching. You could speak about it, it's not teaching anybody because there's nothing to be taught, there's nothing to learn, it's not a learning. She hasn't gained anything, and she hasn't lost anything either.
Yeah.
So there's no reason you can't still be good friends.
Yeah. No, it'll sort itself out.
Yeah, see her for the very ordinary human being that she is.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael has his hand up.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Tim.
Hi there.
I'm sorry.
Hi.
Hi. When you say you don't know who you are, can you take that a step further?
Can I?
Yes. In that is the implication that there's a you who who doesn't know who you are.
So I am the one who doesn't know who I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're happy. I mean, that's
not how it feels. It just it's like there's no. Well, words are tricky, aren't they? And I'm just saying there's no knowing of who I am. I don't know that.
Is back to what you said. Is there a knower who knows that? Is that just
no? I don't. I mean, it's so hard to speak about not knowing, because not knowing sounds like you know not knowing. And there's no way around that, I don't think, Because if someone is, if I'm listening to a human being who's saying that I don't know who I am, I don't know what I am, they can only infer that there is someone, a knower, who knows that they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I'm saying. But how, if you could advise me on a better way of saying it, by all means, because I don't know how to say it any differently than I don't know. Because I still use the I personal pronoun, you know that, because I don't want to get into some non-duality speak, because I heard a lot of that, and it never sat easy with me. So I mean, I don't consciously do it. It's just naturally how speaking happens.
In saying that nothing can be known, again, saying that at least that can be known, or it kind of it all spins down into not even nothingness. And of course we can't do anything with that.
No.
So I was hoping you could.
Oh, you were asking me to help. Oh shit.
Yeah, help me.
No.
Oh yeah, throw us a rope. No, it's just a silly question, really. I will unraise my hand. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah. What can you do?
What can you do?
Alice has her hand up.
I was going to say something to Michael, but Michael might not appreciate it coming from me or something.
Go on. Doesn't matter. Upset him.
Okay. It seems as though, Michael, that you're trying to find it within thinking itself. Because when you're communicating, you're doing like this looking at thought business, and in a way that's always taking you away from here, away from this. Just this is what I noticed.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Michael.
Is there such a thing as just this?
No.
Or somebody to be there?
No. No, there isn't a just this. There isn't a this. There isn't a this any more than there is a that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost become a habit here to use the word. But of course, then it can become like a crutch that there is something to find. I could find this. I could be just this. That's not what's being said. No. No, there isn't any more of this than there is of that. It's just that this and that are not two. That is this. This is that.
Thank you, Alice, for your input.
Thanks, Alice.
I'll just say something quickly.
Sure, David. Yeah.
Yeah, just very quickly. This is a paraphrase, but something that stuck with me from old Wang Po, all those long time ago. I think he talks about the notion of the feeling of being actually too ill to bother, or too sick, actually.
Too sick to bother.
Yeah, Which I just said, that is a paraphrase. I think it's better, more pithy than that. But that kind of appealed to me. Throw up your hands, you know. It's
Well,
who's sick to bother.
I don't know. Yeah, there's something about that, isn't there? I mean, how many human beings close to death have, you could say, found? They haven't found it, but they've experienced a peace that they've never seemed to experience before.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's what he meant.
I'm being a wee bit unfair because I'm just paraphrasing. I think it's probably better than that, but it did stick with me. But this business of, I think Ella's referring to, in a way, the mind just out of control in some ways, trying to resolve this. And anything. But the notion of being too sick to bother, the counterpoint seems quite nice. Not that you can induce that, of course. But,
yeah, I mean, there isn't a way to get sick of.
No.
Sick of trying, but if there was a way, then getting sick of trying would be a good way. Yeah. Exhaustion, utter frustration, fuck it all, tried everything, there's no more, I'm done, I'm totally done with it, I'm done with it all. Well, if there was a way, that would be the one I'm recommending, but shit, it's no easy way that way, is it?
No.
When I say I recommend it, I don't recommend it really, because that's just so incredibly painful to get to the point of where I can take no more, I can do no more, I can try no more.
I'll jump to Q a bit here, but just very quickly, Tony Parsons used to, you never know what he's going to stick by these days in terms of his old stories, but this was a nice one about chasing a deer in the forest to the point of absolute exhaustion. And you're just, it goes on for days, banging your head off trees, and you're just not tracking this thing down. And there's a total collapse, and you're into a kind of coma, and you're woken by the deer licking your nose. It's just quite nice. It's a bit tree huggy, but it's good.
That's very sweet for Tony.
It goes back a bit.
I was going to say that's not recent.
No, it's
that's very poetic.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
David has his hand up.
Hi, David.
Hi, Tim. Yeah, just firstly picking up on what David was just saying. Funnily enough, because I was in Tony's retreat at the weekend, and that book was his American book, Invitation to Awaken. And I remember the bit that David was talking about. And I asked him, in fact, I held the book up and asked him something about something in the title. And he said, that's an old book. And the title, he said, well, I didn't actually say that. He said the publisher put that on to help it sell. So that kind of shot down what I was saying. But no, what I wanted to say was kind of, several things really. One, if we're going to use words, and we have to use words really to communicate. Something I heard as a quote from somebody who said, "God speaks in silence. Everything else is a poor translation." So, that's we're using language.
Did God steal that from the title of my book?
I don't know.
I think you might have done.
Anyway, we're stuck with poor translations, really, aren't we, if we're using language?
Well, the thing is, whenever you use language, you never know how it's heard, do you? I mean, again, it's such a pretense that we pretend that we know the words with the intent that we think we're speaking with will be received in that way. Well, we know that isn't the case.
I remember reading somewhere that Gurdjieff, if one of his students asked him a question, he insisted that if they said, yesterday you said, he insisted that they say, yesterday I heard you say, because what's said is not necessarily the same as what was heard.
Yeah, he wasn't much fun to be around, was he? What a pain in the arse that would be.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. But you know, the word "this," I think it does kind of convey the immediacy.
Well, I mean, it doesn't mean anything, but it's the best I've got. Yeah. Thanks, David.
And there was something else. Going back to what Michael was asking about the whole thing about who am I or what am I? It strikes me that within, if you take the sort of the broad umbrella of what passes for non-duality, I'm not talking about your message or say Tony's message, but a lot of what passes for non-duality seems to me to be they're talking about self-realization rather than the realization that there's no self. Realizing I am consciousness or I am awareness.
Yeah, well, this message isn't about the realization that there is no self. Can I?
No, I know that.
Can I really emphasize that there is no self to realize the absence of the self.
Yeah.
That would then just be a new self called no self.
Yeah.
There to recognize the absence of the old self, who I called me, with the new self. I mean, it's all bollocks, all of that.
Yeah. So I get that. I was kind of just
there is
translation again.
Yeah. But I know there are people who talk about the realization of the absence or the the unreality of self. That's not what I'm speaking of. No. There's nothing to realize.
Yeah.
Nothing. This is not a realization.
No.
This is not an actualization. You'd have to know what you're talking about in order to have any of that. And this is about not knowing. Not knowing some new knowledge that I don't have a self. I don't know that. Who would know that? How would that be known?
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Thanks, David.
Dario has his hand up.
Hi, Dario.
Hello. You hear me?
Dario, yeah.
Yeah. I was a little late to the party today, but I was anyway, felt compelled to say something because I was really angry that there's just nothing I can get, and there's just nothing. It doesn't matter what I do, like how good I do anything. It's just nothing there for me in any way. Like it doesn't matter if I have the best partner of my life or the best job of my life. There's just nothing in it. Just so frustrating.
Well, no, that's not what's being said though, Dario. You can go and attain anything that you feel like attaining.
It doesn't get me anywhere.
Oh no. No, but it's, you know, in the relative, getting things, partners, jobs, houses, cars, you know, there they are, here they are. You can do any of that or not.
It's just so empty.
But you can't get more or less of nothing, can you?
No.
No. We're talking about an emptiness that is empty of emptiness. A nothing that has no nothing. But there are all the things, you know, about, you know, there's nothing to do. All the doing can happen, but I'm guessing it won't be. It won't be with the passion and fervor that it would be for when they would bring me closer to whatever I've fantasized about my life could be. You know, that's just where most human beings are, just at the place where things will bring me closer to completion, to feeling I'm worthy, I'm a success, I'm somebody. I mean, that is the dreadful curse of feeling like me, is that this sense of inadequacy. I have this empty, you know, there's this hole through the middle of me and I need to fill it. I have to keep filling it. It's insatiable. Of course it's insatiable. Emptiness, you can't fill emptiness with stuff that's already empty. It's just the same emptiness with all that stuff, everything. Empty going into empty is empty.
But there still joy can arise, no, but like for no one.
Yeah, if that's what you're after, Dario, is that your bag? You want some joy?
I don't know. Better than depression.
Exactly. Do you know? Well, do you know the weirdest thing is sorrow is just as loving as joy, if not more so. That's the freedom. If I was to say the one difference, the biggest freedom is that it's so absolutely obvious that sorrow, intense sadness, is pure love.
Yeah.
It feels more like love than anything else. Fuck, it hurts. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't like some joy, but sorrow, wow. It's just, and if it does come up the question of why I do this, what motivates me to speak about this? Well, why? And really, I think that's one of the main ones. I know how terrified I was of sadness. I avoided it. I was always pushing it away. The most obvious fact of life, this being human, is constant loss. Everything is lost as it appears. There's nothing actually to hold on to. Again, no wonder this message isn't popular.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Dario. Well, if no one else has got a question, thanks very much for coming this evening. There is a joy. There is a joy in speaking about this. I don't know why, but there we go. There is. But anyone can speak about this. This is not, there is no exclusivity in this, in speaking about this. This is absolutely empty of any, there's no one who knows more about this. I mean, isn't that the most beautiful thing about the whole message? You can think what you like about who knows more, who's clearer, who's got the best way of putting it. It matters not a shit. That's why it's beautiful. That's the freedom, that's the peace, and that's the love, in that every human being is absolutely equal in their being human. Oh, I'll give a quick plug. I'm going to Copenhagen in my jet set lifestyle that I now seem to have adopted. I'm going to Copenhagen in 2 weeks. So if you haven't booked your place, then do so. COVID restrictions are in force, but I have just run the gamut of those by going on holiday to Menorca, and it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It is a pain in the arse, as you can imagine. But yeah, so there are some places in Copenhagen for the weekend of the 1st to the 3rd of October in 2 weeks' time. So I'm going. But yeah, and I'm planning to get back to doing a weekly Thursday meeting. So if you're not on the email list and you'd like me to email you the Zoom details, then just go to the website and send me an email. Thanks very much for coming, everybody.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Tim.
Bye.
Bye.
Tim. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye bye. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Darren.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Right, stop.